you need the best apparatus. And so we have the option to use the best. And in this environment, if we are using the best intellect, the best side, we are able to see the way God sees. That changes the game completely. And how does the God see? God sees the bigger map. That's why he is knowledgeful. In the bigger map, he is able to see the eternal dimension behind. He is able to see the family of souls. He is able to see that all are immortal, all are safe. And the entire physical world, it looks like a dream world. That is all. He sees this complete map. Of course, he lives in the real world. It is possible for human souls to go into the dream world. What we call as a drama and a story. It is the same world. It is the dream world. And the analogy is 100% appropriate in this. What happens in a dream? When one is dreaming, he doesn't even realize that he is dreaming. That appears to be the real world. But God is one who is out of that dream world. So he can see the dream as a dream, in a dream story. He doesn't live in it. His emotions are not based on the dream. And in the real world, there are real people. And people, they look like stars. They are souls. They're true family. This is the world of the true family, true home, true treasures. It is the world that is a reality. And dream world is a world that is fictional. It is a dream story. If someone is dreaming, he is in danger. He is not useful to himself, not useful to others. One who is conscious is useful to himself, useful to others. All we have done is use the best intellect and the best side. That is all. And we are able to see another dimension. As if we are able to come out of the dream. At an immediate level, we discover the dimension of truth. Just this world of light and silence, we are in this world of truth. It is not a dream. It's a world of immortality, world with the God, world of the true family. It's a world of the true self. Just as someone comes out of a dream and he discovers the true self, it is like a new life. As we continue on our journey, even for the next hour, we remain aware of these two options. Either we can continue staying in the dream, and life goes on. But when we are into such a major delusion, don't even know that you are in a dream, then we end up creating problems to ourselves. Our karma changes and there are penalties. We are certainly not self-sovereign in that state. One is not even conscious. How can he be self-sovereign? When one is conscious, he at least knows what is right and wrong, what is good for others and what is not good. He knows what love is. He knows who others are, whom he is loving. He knows who the self is. He knows what he has got and what everyone else has got. Just knowing this itself is a huge step towards sovereignty. If one is to be a sovereign, at least he should know what he has got here. As we continue on our journey, we stay with this awareness. We strive, at least understand the contrast. When one is in dreaming, the contrast between dreaming and being awake. We may be knowing of the life of being awake, but how do we know if we are really awake at any moment? One who is out of the dream, his passions, emotions, feelings are based on the waking reality. His happiness is based on the waking world. When one is not conscious, when one is dreaming, his passions, emotions, feelings, happiness, sorrows are because of the dream. That gives us a guideline. So even for seconds, minutes, let us give ourselves the contrast and then build on it. contrast of what it means to be awake. Otherwise, the present world is where everyone is in the dream world. Only the Father, his task is to take us out of the dream. Thank you. We will be seeing some slides after some minutes, but before, I wanted to hear some thoughts. If you want to type any your thoughts, comments, what have been happening over the last many weeks, feel free to type and hear from you. One question: what is it that makes us fall asleep and dream? Even the limited dream. Is there anything that puts us to dream? Is there anyone who wants us to stay in the dream? Is it very easy to stay awake, to be conscious? Is there anything happening there in this equation? Why do we dream in this bigger dream? Why do we spend our life dreaming when there is the waking reality? What is it that keeps us in the dream state? That's the question. Or is there any opposition? Is it easy?
It's a few answers. Desires, attachments. In the dream world, it is how we are educated from when we're young to think in this certain way. And ego wants us to stay in the dream. Sometimes to escape reality, we dream. We don't know it's a dream. Ignorance, habits.
Yeah, good, very good. One factor to know, if you wake up in this bigger dream, if you come out of this dream, ego will die. Ego will disappear. Ego is based on the dream. And that's why ego wants you to stay in that state. And your job is to come out of this dream, and it will definitely mean you have to overcome the ego. Ego will try create some sweet dreams. But waking reality is sweeter than the sweetest dream. But just the fact that waking reality is, you're awake, there is, whether it is sweet or not sweet, you're awake. And when anyone is awake, he is useful to himself, useful to others. In fact, you can be disproportionately useful. In this reality also, you can be disproportionately useful. God is God just because he is awake. He is able to change the whole universe, change the whole world, create golden age, and help everyone. His intervention is justice. He is awake and knows what is going on, knows the answer to everyone. If they are in a nightmare, they just need to wake up. So he doesn't need to change the nightmare, help them wake up. So also we need to be good at this, staying awake, and our intervention is also here. helping others, how you can make it easy for others to wake up. Even in an ordinary dream and sleep, if there is light in the room, people wake up more easily. Darkness puts children to sleep. Just make the room dark, children fall asleep. So also here, if there is light of knowledge, you don't even need to speak, just an atmosphere of knowledge that has power to create light and help everyone wake up, start the process. We'll be starting the slides, and for a few minutes, let us come back to the experience. And during this, we come to that the best intellect, best sight, and understand one side is the dream story, other side is the real world. True self and the true father and the true family. Thank you. So in this slides, in the slide presentation, we are going to see how we lose sovereignty, how the sovereignty is created, and useful to know how what has happened to us. So this we start with understanding our life. One nice definition of life that I like very much is an interaction between the individual and the environment. All that happens to us from birth to now, and it is we have got this environment and we are interacting with this. And the environment is not just a ozone layer. Environment includes people, position, possessions. This is our environment. Almost everything, in this drama, and we are interacting with this environment. And all of it can affect our mind, but can rule our mind also. So that is opposite of being sovereign, self-sovereign. But let us see that we come in this world and we are exposed to all these things. There's a dog and there's a job and there are people. All that we want in this environment is a certain harmony. We can't beat this. Wherever you go, even the king and the pauper subject, all of them, they want a harmony. You want some harmony with people you are living with. You want some harmony with your job and environment in the job. You want harmony with the temperature in your room. When there is harmony, there is peace. When there is a mismatch between the person and the environment, then it causes stress. So even the temperature in your room is a mismatch, your body will show stress chemicals. If the job you are doing is a mismatch, it will create stress. So this is the way we are. Life is like this. There is environment and we want harmony. This is our deep need of each and every one. Now the worst relationship with the environment is when the environment becomes the sovereign and you become the slave. That is the worst relationship. Things in the environment start to rule you. Not just rule the mind, but it leads to you experiencing sorrow because of the things outside. You came as a guest here, and suddenly things outside and are affecting you in some form. So it has become a master, you have become a slave in the relationship. The best model of this in the present world is the prison. What's the model of a prison? In a prison model, there is a prison officer and there is a prisoner. And prison officer decides for the other person. You have no choice. Someone else decides. He may decide to give you chocolates, and the prisoner is happy. But it is the other person decides. He may also decide to make him unhappy. That's why it is a master-slave relationship. As we said, prison officer can make him happy also. Sometimes we have events in the prison and some are taking part in our event. And at certain time, certain point, the guard comes and certain people in the audience, he says, now it is time for you to go back to your cell. It is your 1 hour is over, it is go. And they get up and they say thank you and they go. They don't have a choice to say, no, I want to stay a bit longer here. But guard may say, you stay another hour. They may say that. The prisoner doesn't choose, the officer chooses. Now, big question for us. We are in our free society. Do we have masters? That's the real question. And have we created our own masters? What do you think? You can answer. Do we have masters? We are free society, democratic system, everything is going really well. Are there masters? Or or you are the master.
Someone saying employers and family members are masters.
Sure. Now we are going to see, just because someone is an employer, he doesn't become a master of our mind straight away. Someone in the family, they don't become the masters. We are going to see how we create masters. Here is an example. There are two individuals. One, let us say one is the daughter, other is the mother. And daughter just creates a small expectation from the mother. She is expecting that mother will invite her to some family gathering, just a small. The moment she creates the expectation, the other person is in charge to fulfill the expectation. She can disappoint her now. Daughter has no choice. You have given power to the other person. And as you give power to the other person, what happens? You are losing power. This is opposite of the sovereign. Sovereign is self-sovereign. You are master of your own mind, at least. Certainly, you are not dependent on anyone else. So here you have created a master already. Here the example is a mother. It can be anyone. Your other person is in charge to make you happy. Other person has power to make you unhappy. You created a master, and it has become a slave mindset, slave attitude within a relationship. How did it all start? Just by creating an expectation. On a very first day, we mentioned, we remember the box that we draw, and this world is unpredictable. It comes with a label. It is unpredictable, and it is changing. It has an end. And in an unpredictable world, you create an expectation. Then you guaranteed you will go up and down with that world. That world, that box is not in your control. That includes everything, including people and everything. Your environment is there. So here, just by as simple thing as that, you create expectation and you get trapped. You create a bondage. And you give power to the world outside. And now that a world outside will affect you, it will, your mind will go there again and again. You will question, you will complain, all this. This is not a sign of a master. These are the signs of a slave. The cyclical thoughts. You will think about the situation again and again. So, a question. Anyone has got any expectations anywhere? And you can type any expectations. Have you got any masters? Have you created any masters around you?
Many.
Yeah, sure.
And yes, is the relationship to our bodies the biggest slave master relationship?
Biggest, what is the question again?
Biggest slave master relationship with the physical body? That's a question that just came.
The whole thing is where the expectations are. Earlier the example was given, and there is family relations. There are many family relations, but have you got any expectation from them? If there are no expectations, opposite of expectation is acceptance. They do many things. You are understanding. There is variety of characters in the drama. They all are playing part. If you are able to put a full stop to all that is going on, then it means you you are not creating masters. They promise you something, they do something else. Does it disturb you? It means you created expectation. Someone is very reliable, always does the right thing every day. Suddenly he does something different. Does it disturb you? Then it means you have created expectation. One who is sensible, his life is he's prepared for the unexpected. He's he doesn't get into creating expectations from anyone anywhere. Why? Because the world comes with a label. It is unpredictable. So to create expectation is outright ignorance. So there can be some patterns. Someone is very reliable. There is a pattern, but it is not an absolute pattern. Even with the best intention, things can be different tomorrow. And one who is sensible is prepared for this. And so he is never deceived. He never suddenly finds himself disturbed by someone's behavior or someone's manners. So also boss, the other example was given, boss, he does his duty and everyone else is doing their duty. The one who is sensible, the soul always, he watches the drama and is amused by that whole drama, but never the slave. He remains the master of his own mind. So in our world, if someone is very nice, you are more likely to create expectations because you think there is a pattern, and it will be like this forever. If someone is very close, we can create masters more easily, and then it becomes a dysfunctional relationships. Sometimes people can be staying close, relations, close relations. It starts in a nice way. Down the line, it gets spoiled because people can become each other's slaves. It is a double dysfunctional relationship. Each one has an option to stay out of this expectation. It is his mind, it is his life. Is that I want to add anything?
Yes, it's clear, and comments like every expectation is a bondage or an attachment. And,
Sure. Now let us take one example. There is a king and there is a servant. So externally, king appears to be the sovereign. But we are not giving the title self-sovereign to that, but he is a sovereign of the country. And there is a servant. And servant should bring coffee to the king every day at 11 o'clock. And the servant is doing it, doing the job well. One day, servant says, this king, let me see, whether he's really a king. And doesn't bring coffee to the king. Instead, drinks coffee himself and goes home. And king comes to know that servant has gone home. Social distancing, doesn't want to go anywhere close to the king. Now, if the king is disturbed, king is angry, who made him angry? And who is the master in this relationship? Externally, it appears like he is the servant, but internally, the king can have a slave mindset just by creating expectations. And inner life is of the slave. So when we are saying self-sovereign, we are talking about the inner life. Are you the master at inner level? Or have you got masters? If you have got many masters, then you don't get a title self-sovereign. How long should it take to create masters? One lifetime, some years? How long does it take to create masters, to create expectations?
One second, instantly, a thought.
Okay, sure. Let me give an example. And this is a relevant example for all of us. You are going to your office, and just outside your office, someone says, I am a homeless person, I am hungry. Is there anything you can give me to eat? So you say, okay, it is, this weekend, I will be going home. Tomorrow I will be able to eat properly. Today I miss the lunch, not a problem. You give your lunch box to this person, and you really mean to, you love him, you have the kindness, and you want to give him your lunch box. So good action, good karma here does. That man opens the lunch box and says, I don't like this vegetarian thing, so why are you giving me something like this? And throws your lunch box in the bin there and gives you some bad words for not giving him his lasagna. Are you still happy that you have done good karma? Or are you affected a little? If you are affected, who made you unhappy? Even the slightest, who made you unhappy? Of course, here is a person, his actions made you unhappy. But see the situation here. Here is a complete stranger. You don't know him. You are doing favors on him. And suddenly he has power to make you unhappy. How did that happen? It happened just because you created an expectation. What expectation you created? Maybe the expectation that he eats it. You spent 1 hour preparing this. Someone should at least not throw it away, should do something with it. Just that very, very sensible expectation. But it's the expectation. And it is a world that is outside world, which is not in your control. And the moment you create expectation, he is in charge to decide, whether you are happy or not happy. He becomes the master. This example is important for us because this here is a gathering where you might be involved in some good actions in different places. There's just a culture. You end up doing good things. Helping. Some kind of a sacrifice also. That's great. But just because you are helping others, it doesn't justify you creating masters. It doesn't justify you creating expectations from them. Because once you create an expectation, you lose your self-sovereignty. You become the slave. And there is never an indication to become a slave for your own good, for the benefit of others. As an example, say someone within your relations, family, you have helped that person 100 times. From your young age, you have done 100 favors on the other person. That's good, very nice of you to do these 100 favors. But because you have done 100 favors, now there is a need, you got some need, and if you are expecting the other person to help you, and he does something else, he doesn't want to, or create problems for you, don't be disappointed. If you create an expectation and with the sort of a right, of course it will help because I did 100 favors on him, then you are in a trap. You will have to be prepared for the unexpected. Do these 100 favors, it has its own law. Giving good karma, it has its own return at some other time, some other birth. But you are not doing it for that either. But never get into the expectation. In Greece, there is a saying, do good action and throw it in the sea. And it is nice. You do things, don't think of it afterwards. It's gone, finished. Then you remain safe. If most of the time people are innocent about this, we do good actions, but as a result, you become more prone to spoil the relationships. Because along with good actions, you also create expectations and become slave within the relationship. You want to say anything? Are there any expectations? Anyone has created any expectations?
There's a few questions for clarification. Is the desire to awaken a form of expectation?
To awaken. And here we are talking about expectations from the world outside. That is, if you are expecting someone else to wake up, that is an expectation. The world outside is not in my control. But about you, you are very much in your control. And you should be, like right now, we are talking about becoming a master. So become the master, and that is in your control. World outside is not.
What about others, our family, employers? They have expectations upon us, and there are consequences if we don't meet those expectations.
The first thing is to know that if someone creates expectations, it is their problem. First thing, know this, that they create slave mind for them, and they will have to deal with the music, of that slave. If not today, tomorrow. If you try to fit in within that, If you can meet with the expectations, no problem. But because others are creating expectations from you, it has become your expectation, then it becomes your problem. Anyone can create an expectation, can create an expectation that I play cricket for this next test and score double century. He can create an expectation, and there will be consequences for him, not for me, not in our mind. He might, create some. It, that is that is to be, we deal with the drama as it comes, but it doesn't justify me becoming a slave. There is never an indication to become a slave because of someone else's expectation.
Yes, thank you.
What
One comment.
what I'm underlining there, and this is what happens in a lot in our life. Others create expectations. Know that these are expectations from others, but stop there. Don't feel obliged that you have to fit in here to please him, please the other person. Let them know that this is a slave department going on. It can end up becoming slave relationship otherwise down the line. Better to solve it now and then let the relationship be master relationship. Free. You are self-sovereign, other person is a sovereign. It is a healthy, functional relationship. Slave relationship is unhealthy relationship. Yeah, please.
You probably answered a few of these questions, but one is about the parent-child expectations. Mainly they are from the parents.
Yes, and lots of these expectations are tied in with the ego of the parents. Parents want to show how their children are so good, and all complications. And to know, we have to observe this in ourselves first. Am I creating these expectations? And am I becoming slave? The other person is a child, and I can be slave to a child. Child's score can make me unhappy or happy. Now, with the one big area here, to plan things, and to create expectations. These are two very different departments. Like you may be the boss in a company and you're a manager, let us say, and you have to bring certain results from your office. So you are planning things, you are making it very clear to all your people, you got very clear aim, destination, and whatever that is required. You did all that is required. That is planning, having a destination. Then having done that, keep the plan B ready. Then you are a clever boss. You are prepared for the unexpected. So if things don't work out as you planned, you are prepared for the second option. You plan it all like that, and it doesn't happen the way you planned, and uh, it upsets you, and you are blaming others, you are blaming yourself, then you are not a good boss. If you get into the slave mind, you create expectations, means become a slave, then how can you be the good boss? It is not self-sovereignty. It is slavery. So we can become slave to anything, anywhere. We can become slave to strangers. We can create expectations from them that they will behave in a certain way. We can become. So in this slide, next slide, we are showing how we can be slaves to many things, not just be human beings. We can be slaves from matter. For example, you may create an expectation that your car will start, and just this day the car may not start. And and if it upsets you, it means there's a master there. If in at your home the system, right now we are using this technology. If suddenly it doesn't work, you know, are you prepared? And we should be prepared. To internally we use things, get involved with, but and if we create total expectation, then we are talking about becoming self-sovereign. What can make this little device the master, or the system in a computer system, or some may make their government systems or transport system great expectation that it will be the way it happened last year. And some of these situations that come, whether it is a virus or epidemic, those kind of things that show suddenly things can change, and things are going to change. The only one who can deal with this world, that box, unpredictable box, is one who is free. As we all along emphasize, he is useful to himself, useful to others.
It's very interesting about the seemingly reliable systems. Um, a few questions. Um, can you talk a bit more about how, when we do good things with good intentions, it can actually lead to strain in a relationship because of these expectations?
Yes, remember that a good Greek proverb: do good things and throw it in the sea, which means don't think of it anymore. No, it was past. Other people will also say past is past. You also say past is past.
It helps. Comment earlier. So you're saying we have to expect nothing from anyone. It seems like you can't have any bond just to be, it's just about being separate and alone.
And no, we are very much involved, and the relationship is healthy when one is not a slave. For example, the husband and wife. Wife creates expectation. Husband will arrive home at 6 o'clock, and he arrives 5 minutes late. She's in a bad mood when he arrives. And sometimes this bad mood continues for another day. you know, how can that be useful for anyone? Where there are no expectations of that kind, then you are you are self-sovereign. You are in peace. You experience love. You experience happiness. You are in a good mood. Regardless of what other person does. And so it is a master, self-sovereign. You are a master of yourself, and you interacting from that space. It it has more chances of creating a healthy relationship. Let me give the example of that mother and the daughter we spoke. We said mother doesn't invite her, and the story is that she is upset. She is unhappy. Then what will happen? Say 2 days later, she may have a function at her place. And if it is a slave kind of mind, slave relationship, then she will say, she did not invite me, that I'm not going to invite her. So it becomes a slave, and a slave kind of love. Slave love is that, someone gives me cake, I love. Other person doesn't give the cake, my love stops. This is a slave love. If the daughter was in the mindset of a self-sovereign, it just means, in this case, just means no expectation. That is one step towards self-sovereign. And now the mother did not invite her, sure. So she had no expectation. She was prepared for the unexpected, So mother invites everyone else in the family, invites sisters, friends, everyone else except her. Says, okay, mother may have some reason why she did not invite me, and that is her choice, of course. But 2 days later, I got a function, and I want the mother to be there. I don't want mother to miss this function. She loves the mother, and that love remains. It is not based upon what mother does. She chooses to love their mother. So this is a master love, love of the self-sovereign. So in this kind of relationship, it will be healthier. It is not no expectation, doesn't create coldness. It creates healthy, at least one person takes the other person out of the situation, creates harmony. She's not doing it to necessarily, you know, um, you know, it is not a manipulation. Self-sovereign is, that is the way she acts. 100 times. The other person may do whatever, but if I love, I will do what I want to do. And if it means to invite, that is the way it is. If the mother needs something, she will do that because she loves. She feels love in her heart. So that is the master love.
A lot of the comments seem to be around the feeling of obligation to family and the consequences of not fulfilling the expectations. And especially in some cultures, there are more expectations, and by not fulfilling them, there are consequences. They think maybe you've rebelled. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, we are not really emphasizing that part. We are not saying don't fulfill expectations. We don't mean that. If it is possible, I'm happy to fulfill their expectations. If it is possible, no problem. Say someone wants two cakes, and if I got cakes, I'm happy to give him 2 cakes. No problem. But the emphasis is I don't create expectations. That is the emphasis. And you may like to fulfill expectations of others, but there is limit. No? In our ordinary life, there are limits. Others may ask for 100 cakes. If you don't have 100 cakes, how will you fulfill it? Their expectations. Whatever we are doing, there is no problem there. But what I'm emphasizing is you don't create expectation, and that is 100% in your hands. And that is a step towards freedom.
Thank you. That helps. Responsibility to follow rules is an expectation. Is it wrong to expect this from someone else?
Expect, what we are saying, you make the rules, make the plan, Just like if you are a manager, you have to create plans. But if someone doesn't follow the rules and it upsets you, then you are in the slave mode. There is no need to go into that. Make the rules, but be prepared for the unexpected. Know that. But you may also have to tell those who don't follow the rules, they will have to stay in the corner for 10 minutes in a school, just like in a school. You can make another rule about it, no problem. But don't expect that others will follow it or others will honor it. Be prepared. Be your own master.
Catherine's written she sometimes puts herself in timeout. What's the difference between justifying an act and explaining it?
If it is ego doing it, you may call it, there is justification. There is the energy of justification. If it is not coming from ego, you may feel the need to explain things. There is no energy of justification there. There will be some kind of balance.
Coming back to the subject of expectations on oneself, if we want to seek for perfection, say now, do we become slave to our own expectations upon ourselves?
What we are talking here, the inner perfection is one thing, and perfection in the drama is another thing. Here we are talking here right now to be free from slave mind. To that is totally in our hand, and we take those steps. Sometimes we observe things. I would not say that is wrong, and that is necessary to observe the different attitudes we have created, wrong habits we have created. It is good to observe and learn and be free. But at a drama level, someone might expect, that, Prashant will sing, some perfect song, and there is no, don't create demands there. He may try to sing, amazing, but it may go completely wrong, and be prepared for the unexpected. At any level, at the drama level, we are prepared to see how the script is and remain 100% free. But at the inner level, it is in our hand, and we want to get it right.
Yes, thank you. Other expectation questions. Could you explain a little bit more about the lower portion of the slide, the weak and deep, taking for granted, etc.? You may have already expanded on it, but
Yeah. What it is showing is we can create expectations. Sometimes expectation can be so deep, it really upsets you. Someone does something small, say something which you didn't expect him to say something like that, and creates such a big sorrow. Then, because the expectation is deep, the expectation can be weak. So it still upsets, and you don't like it, but it is not. You are not that much of a slave. Taken for granted means we don't even realize that this is all expectation here. In this unpredictable story, which you don't even know the script, and you are taken for granted, it will be like this, because it has always happened like that, this kind of thing. World owes me, means you feel such ego that everyone does exactly the way I wish, this kind of attitude. And all of this just is our weakness. More we create these demands and expectations and desires, bigger the slave we become. So it becomes a weakness. More you become free, that is your strength. As was said, you are a king, and servant comes, servant doesn't come. You are absolutely free to think what's the answer to that. But in that situation, if you don't get upset, then you are a master. It is a strength. Otherwise, it's a weakness.
One comment, learning is about expectations and predictions. It helps us to plan and put structure into our life, or wouldn't it be just chaos with no rules or expectations? So I think you clarified to have, it's fine, but have plan B ready. But anything further?
Yes, I want to show one more slide here. So, big question. I agree, that there should be no expectations. Is it possible to have zero expectation, to be in this world and zero expectations? Is it possible?
Yes, one comment was yes.
That's very good. And the whole philosophy that we learned so far, just understanding of the story and understanding of the script, and even children are are watching the drama and they are prepared for. They don't create expectations. They can surprise and suspense, and they can handle it. So also here, the knowledge that we heard, if we put into practice, it makes us self-sovereign because it frees us from this whole story world. That story world is the world that makes us slaves also. If we are sensible with it, you become the sovereign. That in the mind. That is the first thing. Become sovereign in the mind is first. If you are there, then you are useful in the world, outside world also. I will stop here, and if it is time to create groups, rooms, that is fine.
Yes, one quick one for clarification. Is it fair to say expectation alone isn't the problem, but being tied to the outcome is?
That is also another expectation. You are expecting a certain result. Yeah, the answer is any expectation in the outside world at any level. That is bondage. We gave the example, there is a cloud outside, and one person says, "This is my cloud." That is a bondage. So cloud comes, cloud goes, and he says, "Oh, I lost my cloud." He really believes that is my cloud. So it is blatant, silly situation. Another person creates ego based on the cloud. This cloud is in my garden. It is so amazing cloud, but he creates ego based on it. And anyone criticizes the cloud, it disturbs him. That is another big bondage. So we saw, in various times how we create ego, how we create attachments. The third person just creates the expectation. He says that is not my cloud, and he has no ego based on it. But he's just expecting that the cloud will not change colors. It will just stay like this for next hour, and cloud changes colors, changes shape, and it disturbs him. That is another bondage. So here we are saying there is cloud is nothing to do with me, and these three people can create bondages in different ways. So this world, the entire physical world, is like that cloud. And this world includes the whole thing, what we said, environment. We are passing through this. And all that is required, don't create these bondages. That's all. And be the sovereign. Sovereign has his own life. If someone has in any job, if you don't have many masters, that job is a good job. So here in life, if you don't have many masters, it's a good life, good quality of life. Self-sovereign.
Yes. Would you like to suggest a focus for the room discussion?
Yes. One big question is just to ask if we have any expectations, small expectations. Have we created any masters anywhere to look at this? This is necessary to observe. You might not observe them today even, but over the next week, different life situations come, and something it may create a little scratch or something, and use those situations to see is there an expectation here, and that will help you become free. In this model, what we discussed, it will help you to undo the expectations. Understand why you are feeling a certain way in some situations. Right now, they won't stand out. Only when situation comes, then they stand out. Expectations are created over a lifetime.
Okay, thank you. So we'll create around 10 or 15 minutes, and if someone would like to play the role to allow everyone to share, and if you can the camera on, it's very nice for everyone to feel we can be together, and we'll see you back shortly.
But don't takes over completely and doesn't let you speak at all. Be prepared for the unexpected.
So it's a free workshop for testing expectations as well. Thanks, everyone. Let's create some time for a pause and consolidate what's been important for us. Thank you. I'm going to invite Gite, who's joining today from Helsinki, to share some thoughts. And for everyone else, do feel free to share your thoughts in the chat also. Welcome, Gite.
Hello, and thank you. Can you hear well?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, it is such a lovely topic, these expectations. And we had a nice discussion in our Finnish group, which we had in English. It was a mixture of different people. And it is amazing how many expectations we have from the moment we wake up. We maybe want to be not so tired, and we want that the coffee is in a certain temperature. And someone was mentioning about the traffic. Driving out in a traffic is a great way of having expectations, how others should drive and how you should find a parking place. And but the way it was demonstrated today, it is just like a careless mistake to have that expectation on others. And really an inspiration to be careful not to have those expectations. Truly, people can behave the way they want. If they're today in a good mood, fine. Tomorrow maybe they're not in a good mood. But same applies to me. I'm maybe not so stable with my mood, so it's good to give that freedom for everybody, even for myself, to free ourselves from the expectations. So I think this was a beautiful session today, because it's a simple thing that can really bring us the feeling of freedom, and we just need to put it into practice. So really grateful for this one. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gite. It's such a subject which it feels incredibly subtle, and even this realization there may be some expectations that others who are also making spiritual effort should be putting something into place, and it becomes yet another expectation of applying what one has heard. And it's so useful to observe it, and this point that if we don't create masters, that's when we can truly be a sovereign. So at least principally we can be clear on it. So thanks everyone, and feel free as always to continue with the comments and questions. Welcome back to Prashant. No expectations, but we have maybe some time. You might like to share some more thoughts.
Yeah, no expectations from technology, and that is the result. So far we get this cooperation from technology, but we have to fly with it. So if it is not working, then prepare for it. I was hearing little discussions in the group, and at this, some might say it is difficult to be free from expectation. Anything is, we are taking on this challenge, and we start the process. At least we understand the connection that this expectation just makes us slave. We can reduce. To go for 100%, we will achieve it. We do not start with the slave mind. We start clean. When we first come as a guest, we are not slaves to anything. We are like a tourist. And so we see the scale of it, and even to observe it as fun, not to punish yourselves that you are creating expectation, but see, okay, now I see there is an expectation. That's why it affects you. That's why there is a reaction, which is not royal. And once you have observed, you will find, you will you will find a way to become free from it. The whole knowledge is there to make us free. You will appreciate the value of various other ideas when you understand, okay, it helps you become free from this slave mentality. So let us create a few minutes now and again come back to that self-sovereign experience. Something very simple and just like we had one Olympics and gold medalist from here, and before his first gold medal he was in training 8 hours each day for 8 years before his first medal. For that little medal, he was willing to put such kind of dedication. And it is repetition, doing the same things every day. So here, we should not be, hesitating to go through some simple things, repeating it, because it is like building muscles. One example is using paras. It is not that one day you use paras, second day you need something else, you need change, variety. No, that paras it is the best, and it has to be made strong. The soul perspective, that is true. If I am the soul, that is other option is ego perspective. That is absurd, to identify with something that I'm not. So to come back to this as a hobby, even this Olympics sports person, he did this, but with happiness. He would do 8 hours each day, the training, but with happiness. That's why he was able to do it. So here also, we need to do these things. We have to create time, to change the old habits. Just knowing doesn't change, but creating that time. But having said that, every minute you are creating time for this, congratulate yourself, because it is a forward movement. We need that kind of energy, congratulations and enthusiasm and fun. So right now we are using paras, and immediately we are understanding everything that happened today happened in a story. And this also is happening in a story. And story has got a script. And we are curious to see what happens next in the script. At least during these minutes, we won't create expectations. Whatever happened, that is the way the script was. And so there is nothing to complain, nothing to question. So you have a different attitude towards the whole thing now. In 1 second, you change it. And we are able to come beyond the story. And beyond is the real world. In this world is the true family. They all look like stars. This world is the world of immortality, world of silence, world with the God, world of God. This is the home of the invisible souls, true home. This is the home of the family. When we were not using this spiritual side, as if there was a blackout in this whole dimension. So we are seeing this with happiness, that all have a true home, eternal home. And this environment helps the soul to become conscious. And conscious soul sees himself as a presence, unearthly. He sees himself as an invisible presence. Invisible soul comes in the story as an invisible traveler. He remains independent. He knows he is independent from the story. That's why never a slave, never dependent on the story. He knows he is immensely lucky to have this world with the God and immortality and truth in such a simple way. He knows he is lucky. He also knows everyone is lucky. They just need to come out of that web and see their own truth. As we continue on the journey, we remember the beautiful truth. We remember the option to use the spiritual sight. Thank you. Very happy to hear any comments or questions.
Yes, a comment from the room discussion from Sue. She was saying, the more the soul is full, there's no appetite for expectations and no room for ego. And emerging another comment from another discussion, emerging good sanskaras of a bestower, and they will finish the sanskaras of weakness. One thing I'd like to add, it seems that we're saying expectation is a desire, but maybe comes in a more subtle way. And when you share about desire, you say there's the desire of desperation, which is from ego, and there's another kind which is more of a wish. Would you maybe expand on that a bit, because it feels like some clarification around how we manage, because sometimes we have expectations, but is it possible they can come from the energy of a wish, but we have the plan B ready? Does it make sense?
Yeah, sure. It appears somehow that expectation is milder form of desire. It appears like that.
You just got muted, actually. You just need to unmute. We heard the milder form of desire, then we had an expectation to hear the rest of the sentence.
Yeah. So expectation is actually the deeper desire. It is a desire taken for granted. So that's why it creates a bigger problem. I may have some plans and some desires. Of course, desire, you are creating different levels of desires can be there. But expectation can be on small things. You are just expecting someone to arrive at 10 o'clock, but you take it for granted that he has promised, and so of course he will arrive. This kind of thing. And because of that intensity, we become more of a slave in a situation of expectation. I might want someone to come at 10 o'clock. I expect means it is that it has become an intensity there. In most cases, that's why we mentioned in one of the slides, they can be weak, they can be deep, in the whole range of things.
Is it possible to create an expectation that we will be free from expectations?
As we were saying before, all of this are there, but in spite of that, we have to become free. Because only then you are the self-sovereign. We don't stop this because of this expectation. We don't stop the process. We have to get into the process and become free. Then you become free from all expectation.
One comment in the chat, expectations are built from sanskars of body consciousness, but once we realize the true identity, we don't have expectations from anyone else.
Not only in that final state, we will not have expectation. Until then, we are on the journey, and one may be free from expectation today, and tomorrow I can create new kind of expectations. That process will happen, but we have to observe, and once you have observed, then you can change. Check and change, not check and analyze and stop, but check and change.
It's a useful slogan. Mona's typed, in realizing it's easy to move away from expectations and egos when we are in this space of being soul-conscious, rather than analyzing or removing each one, which can sometimes be overwhelming. And a question here, is would like the same as an expectation?
Mind to repeat?
Is to say I would like the same as an expectation?
Whatever it is, we may use different languages, but try and see what, not that much the language and the words, but what is the feeling behind it. Internally see if there is a energy of desperation there. Does it matter? If things are different, does it matter? And if it matters, it means there is slavery there. If you understand it's a story, and if you understand truly nothing matters in a story, then there is no slavery.
So I think most of the questions have been asked. So I don't know whether, as we've come to time, you have any final reflections or idea for the next 24 hours?
I was going to read a short passage from the Murli, that was read recently, and Murli is much more, and we'll get chance to read. Baba likes this word, self-sovereign. I will read a few lines from that. In the royal court, so Baba is saying this court is the royal court. It is now clear what the speciality of being the master to the kingdom was, is it not? Master to kingdom, inner kingdom. Aptada want to see the sparkle of an easy yogi to be seen on the face of each of you. Let the sparkle of intoxication, of elevated attainments be visible. All alokik. It is a language spoken to the souls, but physical imagery. You are the children of the Father who is the treasure store of attainments. In the blessed time of the confluence age, you have a right to claim all attainments. How can we have constant yoga? How can we have experiences of this treasure store? Do not keep wasting your time making effort in this way, but easily experience the fortune of being an embodiment of attainment. The time of completion is coming close. If even now you are busy making effort for one thing and then another thing, then the time for attainment will finish. Confluence age also has limitations. So time will finish. So when would you then experience being an embodiment? The confluence age and Brahmin souls have the blessing. May you be full of all attainments. You don't have a blessing. May you always be an effort maker. But you have the blessing of having full attainments now. Blessed souls who have received the blessing of attainments cannot be caught up in carelessness. They don't have to make labor. So do you understand what you have to become? So this was the homework. If you're asking for homework. Fly, go for the best, go for the first prize. That is the way Baba says. It is not a little effort. Fly, go for the best now.
And the date of the reading?
This was read here on 10th of January.
Yes, thank you. Thanks everyone. Enjoy your experiments. Look forward to hearing your experiences. and with the support of the gathering, have a powerful 24 hours and see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Have a good evening.